Major League Baseball's trade deadline in 2025 has come and gone. We're going to talk about 11 trades that caught our eye. This is going to be a survey look at those deals. We're doing a knee-jerk reaction after a 2-hour live stream, which was excellent, by the way. Nearly 11,000 of you joined, whether it was via YouTube or X yesterday, so thank you for that. But we just did 2 hours on the deadline special, and we're recording this for Friday, August 1st. Trade deadline is come and gone. Exciting stuff is happening, and this was the deadline of the closer. Peter Apple, who are we brought to you by?
BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JUSTBASEBALL. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. Yet to download BetMGM, how about some World Series futures? After we talk about some of these deadline deals, teams are certainly going for it. But remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Before we break into what I think both of us agree, the top 11 trades from the deadline. On Monday, we're going to do winners and losers. And when we do that, we're probably going to talk a lot more about some of the smaller deals. So if you feel that a deal you really want to hear about wasn't spoken about here, make sure to go check out the YouTube live stream, or we'll likely cover it on Monday's episode. But I know you have a tweet that you want to start with, and I have one as well.
I think Chris Cotillo does a great job covering the Boston Red Sox for MassLive.com. He was at Craig Breslow's media availability after the trade deadline on Thursday. And there were two quotes that jumped out. I've got the first one, you've got the second one. Number one from Craig Breslow, quote, I understand the frustration and disappointment. There's not a lot of sympathy for how hard we tried to get deals across the line. Congrats on trying hard. What do you got?
Next tweet, I want to tie both of these into each other. From Chris Cotillo again. Breslow says Red Sox feel they were, and I quote, uncomfortably aggressive. Sit with that one for a second. Uncomfortably aggressive. And I quote again, other teams needed to say, hey, that's enough. There's another report. The Red Sox and the Joe Ryan sweepstakes. And I quote, not even close. The Red Sox made two moves. They traded James Tibbs for Dustin May, and they traded Blaze Jordan for Steven Matz. Somebody's not telling the truth.
James Tibbs was also the headliner in terms of prospect capital in the Rafi Devers deal. So it was Kyle Harrison, it was Jordan Hicks, it was James Tibbs the third, and I think there was one more. I'm blanking on who that one more was, but I will find it. But you take the marquee prospect in that Devers deal and you flip him one for a rental and a guy that is phased out of the Dodger rotation. This is what you have to show from the Rafi Devers trade.
So you don't think they were uncomfortably aggressive?
I don't think they were uncomfortably aggressive because if you really wanted a good lefty out of the Cardinal bullpen, I understand Steven Matz has been good. Jojo Romero is still a St. Louis Cardinal.
Yes, he is.
So my thing is, if you needed one, you might as well take two for a little bit more than Blaze Jordan.
I think we should start talking about the trades because I know you and we're going to start getting into winners and losers of the deadline. We're
Yeah,
just
no,
going to
I
do
like
that episode.
and the thing I don't want to steal the thunder from Arm and I don't want to steal the
Yeah.
thunder from the Monday show, so we might as well just start talking trades, but that was like absolutely it's giving me a migraine. I don't know what's giving me a migraine right now, but I feel like it's the messaging from Craig Breslow and Dodger camp or in Red Sox camp.
It could be you getting back home at 4 a.m. last night and then staring at a screen, refreshing for moves, then doing a 2 hour live stream. And then the cherry on top of the sundae is Craig Breslow telling everybody he was uncomfortably aggressive when they made two deals.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna blame Craig Breslow, Jose Bayo. Uh, hey, you know what? Jose Bayo 3 2/3 scoreless out of the Salem Red Sox bullpen in low A. So that's the other guy in the
Uncomfortably.
Devers deal. So you know what? Season back on for the Boston Red Sox. But okay, let's talk trades.
Let's talk trades.
First one that we got to talk about, Jhoan Duran. This was probably, and Mason Miller got traded. Okay, so we still probably align that Jhoan Duran in terms of World Series impact might have been bigger. Jhoan Duran goes from Minnesota to Philly for Eduardo Taiit, one of the top catching prospects in baseball, and Mick Abel, young, talented, former top prospect right-handed pitcher who has made 6 starts in the major leagues this year.
So when you're talking about World Series impact, I feel like both of them are such electric arms that you're splitting hairs. You can go Duran, I might go Miller, who cares? But what does matter here is that the Phillies addressed a huge need. Huge. Getting a closer. Not only was the bullpen not that great even with Alvarado, he goes down with a PED suspension, and you add arguably the best closer in the market with 2.5 years of control. What do you have to give up? Mick Abel, who, if I'm a Twins fan, I'm very excited to get that arm
Absolutely.
in my clubhouse, right? You know, we showed really good stuff with the Phillies already this year. Young, tons of years of control. That's a great get. And then Eduardo Taiit, and we talked about it on the YouTube live stream. What did the Twins not have in their system? Catching prospects. What did they just get? One of the better catching prospects in Major League Baseball. But if you're on the Phillies side and you're Dave Dombrowski, you're thinking to yourself, take this 18-year-old catcher. Take him. We don't care. And look how deep the Phillies starting rotation is. And then you have Andrew Painter on the way. So it's a big package. If I'm a Twins fan, I'm very happy here. But at the same time, if I'm a Phillies fan, I'm over the moon. That's why I wanted to start with this trade, because I think it is an ultimate win-win. And if we're looking at the Phillies as well, like their timetable, the 2.5 years of control makes a lot of sense for Philly. And I really think that they need him right now more than ever, because we're talking about Wheeler potentially retiring soon. Bryce Harper finally going over the hill. Dave Dombrowski has 2 years left on his contract. But the Phillies have a few guys who are going to be free agents next year, right? If we are talking about who's a free agent at the end of the year, Matt Strahm, JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, Max Kepler, right? Those are some key guys. So the window is right now, and the Phillies needed to add a bullpen arm, and I'm glad they added Harrison Bader. Again, we'll talk about that on winners and losers. But
Yeah.
again, to summarize it in 2 words, Jack, win-win.
I like it. Jhoan Duran has 2 more years of arbitration. He avoided arbitration this year, $1.3 million. You would think if he did go to arbitration, this would escalate to 3.5 or 4, and then after that, it would escalate to 7. So you're getting a top 5 closer in the game in Jhoan Duran for after this, pretty much a 2 year, I would guesstimate $8 or $9 million deal. Would you pay 2 years, $9 million for Jhoan Duran? I think I would. That's the beauty of team control.
Today.
And
Today.
you got to give up a top 70 prospect in baseball. And that's what they did, according to justbaseball.com, in Eduardo Taiit. And they also gave up a guy that is starting pitching depth. But we have been having this conversation about the Phillies. What does this postseason rotation look like? To your point about the impending free agents, this could be their last shot at this roster as currently constructed. I have no idea how much money Kyle Schwarber is going to make in free agency. I assume Philly is not a team in a market that is priced out of Kyle Schwarber, but this is your last run with Schwarber, Harper, Turner, solidifying the front third of your lineup here. And if you can do that by pushing Strahm and Kerkering from 8 and 9 to 7 and 8, and you get a top 5 closer in the game in 9, you're asking Wheeler to go 7 like he always does in the postseason. But then you're asking Sanchez or Ranger to go 6, and then the game's over.
Yep.
And Andrew Painter just threw 100 pitches, I think, in his last start in AAA. We're talking about all of these pieces in this Philly rotation and how there's too many cooks in the kitchen there. Who starts in the postseason? Who gets moved to the bullpen in the postseason? I saw the report about Jesus Luzardo throwing bullpen innings for the Phillies in the postseason. If we're thinking about relegating Jesus Luzardo to a postseason bullpen, you didn't need Mick Abel to win a World Series this year. You know what you do need to win a World Series this year, especially with the Alvarado suspension, to your point? Jhoan effing Duran. That was as badass a move as we had this deadline.
You want to talk about badass? His walkout song at the bank in the playoffs. I just got chills saying that. If you haven't seen Jhoan Duran run out, Phillies fans, go to YouTube. Go look that up. All I'm going to say is him versus Diaz. If you guys face it at NLCS or NLDS or whatever, that's going to be awesome.
Trumpets, and this might be an indictment on the Mets fan base, but the trumpets, Narcos has gotten a little corny for me.
Mm,
Duran's hasn't gotten corny for me.
you know why? Because Diaz hasn't been quite as good. If Diaz was
Yeah.
still a top three closer, you'd be over the moon about trumpets.
Yeah, but it's a little finicky now. And I honestly, I think after the live performance from Timmy Trumpet, I think that's who it is. Is it Timmy Trumpet?
Sounds right.
I think after the live performance, and now that Mr. and Mrs. Met have like foam trumpets that they play when he comes out, I'm like, you know what? This has lost its lore. Give me Duran's walkout.
I
So
like it.
I'm here for that. So that's our take on the Jhoan Duran deal. And this again, like Dave Dombrowski, historically, wherever he has been, has had a push the chips forward type of trade. And this was his push the chips forward type of trade. Jerry Dipoto had one of those as well. It happened late night on Wednesday. Eugenio Suarez goes from Arizona back to Seattle, and the trade return was Tyler Locklear, the first baseman, and right-handed pitching prospects Hunter Cranton and Juan Burgos. Cranton is an arm that I know Aram is very excited about. Hunter Cranton, an older guy for the lower levels of the minor leagues, but has shown to be really effective, and he's got loud stuff. It's kind of burst onto the scene thing. Burgos is an upper minor slash big league reliever that can plug in immediately for Arizona. But the big piece in the return was Locklear. But I want to start on the Suarez perspective for Seattle. They're finally trying it. They're finally trying it with this rotation. They're getting the job done with this lineup.
Mariners fans, how about it? How about it? The last time you guys went pretty much in, but I wouldn't say all in, was back in 2022 when you trade for Luis Castillo. But the corresponding moves were meh. So it's not really all in, but that was a good deal. Fast forward to 2025. Jerry Dipoto says publicly, all in. And now, Jerry Dipoto has had public quotes before that haven't gone over well with Mariners fans. So this one was very, very important. If he didn't truly go all in here, the Marine Layer pod and Mariners Nation, they were going to go crazy on Dipoto, and deservedly so. You see it right now. It's a wide open American League. You still have your pitchers. Your lineup is much better than ever before, but you got to make a few more moves to really solidify yourself as a true World Series contender. And what do? You grab Josh Naylor. Good move. But then the big one, Gino freaking Suarez. And we're going to talk about the package in return. Not anything crazy. You didn't have to give up any of your major prospects. Mariners fans, you're talking about the top 5 in your system. They're all fantastic. You didn't even have to touch them. You have to touch your top 6, 7 to get a guy who could hit 50 jacks this year and also has played well in your park before. And what was the one position the Mariners needed to upgrade after getting Naylor? Third base. It wasn't second base anymore as Cole Young has emerged. It was third base because Ben Williamson has been a great defender. Bat, not so much. Holy shit, what a bat you got at third now. Naylor and Gino on the corners. JP and Cole Young up the middle. Cal Raleigh, Julio. We're cooking Seattle. We're cooking.
This also feels like the easiest extension conversation ever. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen, it's a slam dunk, but the conversation is incredibly easy to have with an Eugenio Suarez. He clearly loved his time in Seattle, and it was cool. I was listening to Rick Riz and Gary Hill call the game on the Mariners radio network, and I immediately turned it on because they were playing in Sacramento, and I was like, I just want to hear how an in-game broadcast goes about this when a deal of that magnitude comes across. And it was cool. Like they both had a reaction of the vibes curator is back, and that's a really fun thing to hear. I also saw somebody, I think it was Cespedes Family Barbecue tweet. The Mariners winning a bidding war for their previous salary dump is very funny, and it is.
It is funny. I also want to talk about that bidding war because I think the Diamondbacks didn't play this correctly. And now it's just a guess. But they came out really strong, right? The initial reports were the Diamondbacks are asking for an arm and a leg for Gino Suarez. But everybody knows he's a rental, and also everybody knows that the Diamondbacks were selling. So I think a lot of these teams just waited them out. And
Yeah.
now it's not a bad return by any stretch of the imagination. Tyler Locklear is the main piece going over. And I'm sure the Diamondbacks think he's a top 100 guy after this new swing change, and his numbers in AAA have just been prolific. He's been crushing baseballs. I'm sure they are imagining that he could be their next Christian Walker. I think that's what they're hoping for. Of course, you never know what's going to happen, but I think they wanted a guy who they could plug into their lineup immediately, and I think Tyler Locklear answers that question.
Also slept on just how ginormous Tyler Locklear is. That is a
Huge.
big man. Big
Yeah,
man.
you're about to go get a big burly man, but the thing is, like, the corresponding pitchers, I don't know much about.
It seems like Cranton is somebody that has burst onto the scene as of late. Like the stuff is really good. And again, it seems like Aram is high on Hunter Cranton. Burgos is an upper 90s reliever that is pretty much there. So he'll slot in immediately. But Locklear is the big get. And Locklear, like, okay, yeah, he's your first baseman, and Pavin Smith can bounce around a little bit. I wouldn't have minded if Arizona just commit to Pavin Smith being the everyday first baseman because it feels like he's earned that, but also he has too much defensive versatility to be pigeonholed at first base. So I like the idea of Locklear being the headliner, but to your point about Seattle not moving the farm, we were expecting up until 6 o'clock on Thursday, like Seattle to do something else and maybe dip into what they had, but guys that they kept in the system. Colt Emerson, Harry Ford, Ryan Sloan, Johnny Farmello, Las Montes, Michael Arroyo, Jurangelo Senja, Ty Pete. That's 8 guys, and you can argue your top 8 prospects that you did not touch.
Yeah.
And Harry
And
Ford feels so blocked. He feels so blocked. I
and
have
that
no idea why Ford for a closer didn't happen, but it didn't.
and on the YouTube live stream, I was asking the Marine Layer guys what the grade would be if they don't get another bullpen arm. And they said A. And I said, if you get a Griffin Jax, a Pete Fairbanks, even a Dennis Santana, could we get to an A plus? And they said yes. So I'm sure Mariners fans and the Marine Layer pod guys would have loved to have traded Harry Ford and maybe in order to get a Griffin Jax or a Pete Fairbanks. But they didn't end
Yeah.
up doing so. And again, Harry Ford's a good prospect. It's not a bad thing to keep him and see what happens here.
No.
Um, but overall, I think it was a home run for the Mariners, literally. And I think it was a bit of a disappointment for Arizona. It's not a bad deal by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not upset with it. I just expected a little bit more. Not even a lot more, just a little bit
Yeah.
more. And I feel like they left some meat on the bone there.
To be honest, I don't even know if it's fair to call it a disappointment for Arizona just because of how freaking good Locklear has been. Like,
Yeah.
I am curious internally, what did Arizona deem the price of Tyler Locklear to be? And I also wonder, was Seattle reluctant to part with a guy like Tyler Locklear? It feels a lot like the Seattle conversation between Randy Arozarena and Tampa last year, right? They acquire Randy Arozarena, but they gave up 2 guys. And what was the immediate reaction to that trade? That's it? Aiden Smith and Brody Hopkins, that's it? Those guys are both fringe top 100 prospects. Hopkins is in the top 100. And the initial report from Seattle was that was a very hard package to give up. So let's
We'll
give it
see.
some time to marinate, but there's a chance Arizona cooked here.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I'm not I hope I didn't, you know, slur my words there. I didn't call it a disappointment. I just have said they left a little bit of meat on the bone. Like I
Yeah.
thought it was going
Yeah.
to be a little bit more. But who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe Mike Hazen and company cooked and we're going to be talking about these prospects next year and say, "Wow, they actually did really well here." But we'll have to wait and see.
Yep. Next deal we got to talk about the Mason Miller trade. I want to talk about the Mason Miller trade here. Mason Miller and JP Sears go from the A's to San Diego for Leo DeVries, Braden Nett, Henry Baez, and Eduardo Nunez. Miller has 4 years of control after this. He's a Super 2 guy. He has 4 arbitration years staring him in the face. JP Sears, lefty, posts every fifth day, has a lot of control left. Leo DeVries is a top 10 prospect in baseball consensus, and I think number 7 on just baseball's top 100. Braden Nett was Arm's number 5 prospect in the Padres system. Henry Baez was Arm's number 8 prospect in the Padres system. And Eduardo Nunez is a guy that couldn't throw strikes to save his life when I watched him pitch as a minor leaguer for the Cubs. But if he's around the strike zone, it's 98 and it's freaky and the shapes are really good. So they got a volatile reliever that is big league caliber and they got El Mutante, Leo Dallas DeVries. This is the best prospect moved in a trade since? Question mark. Till we figure out that answer.
I don't know the answer. Is it like I was thinking when Dansby Swanson got traded when he was the first overall pick, but I don't even think he was this high of a prospect.
I don't know if he was, but I'm Googling right now.
But in the meantime, let me give my take on this one. I posted on TikTok that I love the trade. I love the riskiness of this trade, and it's such an AJ Preller deal. I almost think that at this point, does he even think about these prospects as people? I think he just thinks of prospects as ideas. All they are thoughts to me. You're not even real. You're not real. It's almost like that lady on the plane.
Yeah, yeah, she's famous now. Barstool latched onto her.
Extremely famous. And so is
Tiffany.
AJ Preller at this deadline. So
Yeah.
these prospects are not real. And there's a lot of pushback on that. But here's what I mean. The risk is if you're trading this big of a package for Mason Miller, what you're doing right now is you're slotting him into that bullpen and creating the best bullpen maybe of all time. It's that good. I mean, they had 3 All-Stars, and all 3 pitched for the National League in that game. And then you add Mason Miller, and you have Jeremiah Estrada. You could just continue to go down the line of elite arms.
Yeah.
So they bolster, and you could say, well, do they really need to add a bullpen arm? Well, now the game is over in the 4th inning.
Yeah.
And you have JP Sears, who can fill valuable innings for you. But the allure is, can Mason Miller become a starter? And now he's not going to be a starter this year. He's not going to be throwing 5-6 innings for the Padres in the 2025 season. This would be for 2026 and beyond, because again, you have 4.5 years of control of this guy. So if you can make him into the starter that he was when he got called up, why is he not a starter anymore? Injuries. But if he can stay healthy, that stuff is outrageous. He could become one of the best starting pitchers in Major League Baseball, just on pure stuff. So that's what I think Preller is betting on by giving away all of these different prospects. And I'm sure he sees Leo DeVries and says to himself, DeVries is probably going to be great. But what's the percentage he's great versus the percentage Mason Miller becomes a starter? And now you might say, well, Leo DeVries is definitely, he has to be.
Yeah.
If we look at the 2024 top 10 prospects, there's a lot of them that are like okay right now. Jordan Lawler, Evan Carter. Like, you could go pick, even last year, 2 years ago, in the top 10 prospects, not every single one of them pans out and becomes amazing.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the reaction from this trade is Leo DeVries is already an all-star. He's already made it, Jack. Yep. No, he hasn't. He's 18 in high A.
He's got a 115 WRC plus in high A.
He could be amazing, right? He could be amazing, and AJ Preller could have egg all over his face. Or he becomes amazing and Mason Miller actually transitions into a starter. And then is it that bad of a deal anymore? So again, AJ Preller made some questionable deals at this deadline. And this one is one of the riskiest he has ever made. But I can't lie. I loved it. I love this deal.
It's psychotic, and I don't know if that's in a good way or a bad way, but all I know is it's psychotic because nobody's moving a prospect this good for a package that headlines with a closer. JP Sears offers a little bit of reliability, I think. Like, there's that slight hedge to this, but they're clearly going to try and stretch Miller out to be a starting pitcher. They have another guy in that bullpen, Morejon, who the conversation around him has been, can we stretch him into a starting pitcher? So all of a sudden, Cease and King are walking in free agency this year. Are Morejon and Miller part of your starting rotation going into next year? They also moved Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek to Kansas City.
I hated that deal.
I hated it too. They're clearing runway for Sears, Miller, and Morejon at some point in 26 to all start games for the San Diego Padres, which is interesting to me. But it also signals that they are building what they believe to be their best shot at a World Series in 2025. And that's having a 5-man jet fuel bullpen of Mason Miller, Robert Suarez, Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, and Adrian Morejon. Yuki Matsui is throwing down 8 in the 4th. There's no world that he's throwing leverage innings for them. David Morgan throws 100 with a 90-mile-an-hour slider. He's throwing down 8 in the 4th. There's no world that these guys are protecting a lead when you have 5 all-star quality relievers Morejon was an all-star this year. Adam was an all-star this year. Suarez was an all-star this year. Miller, all-star. Estrada might be the nastiest of the bunch. He's disgusting, man.
Yeah.
They put together a super pen and probably the best bullpen that we've seen in a really, really long time. Upon further review, Leo DeVries is probably the best prospect moved since Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres was moved for Aroldis Chapman. Going into the very next year, he was a consensus top 10 prospect in baseball. So it's been 10 years.
And
8
what
years,
if
10 years.
DeVries turns into Gleyber Torres? Obviously, they're not exactly
Depends what Miller
comped.
does.
Again, like it could very easily happen, folks.
Yeah.
So again, prospects, of course, matter. We have a big focus here on prospects at Just Baseball. We root for a lot of young guys. Aram does as good of a job as anybody. You do an amazing job. Elijah Evans does an amazing job. But at the end of the day, you hope they become something. Mason Miller right now is a top 5 closer in the game with the ability to become an electric starting pitcher. And let's say it doesn't work. Okay, you have a top 5 closer. And JP Sears. So again, it's risky because Leo DeVries could become just an unbelievable player. Unbelievable. Or not. But if you are on the A's side, you do have to feel good about this one. Trading Mason Miller and JP Sears and getting that type of return, it's electric. But, and again, I would even say that the A's as of now won this deal. But I'm saying if we wait this one out, I don't think Preller is going to look as crazy as everybody's making him out to be. But the Freddie Fermin deal was dog shit. Freddie Fermin, why'd they do that? I mean, Kolek and another
You're
pitching
hating
prospect.
on Freddie Fermin just to hate on Freddie Fermin.
Freddie Fermin, I don't hate Freddie Fermin.
Upgrade over their catching tandem.
But not even, because he's a slightly better hitter than Elias Diaz, and he's a slightly better defender. Like, Freddie Fermin in 67 games is worth 0.4 F-WAR with a 78 WRC+. I get it. You have to upgrade at catcher. And we're going to talk about the Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn deal. Now, that was a huge prospect haul, but it was like 6 guys. We're going to talk about that. I'm just talking about this deal in a vacuum. I get they needed a catcher. Freddie Fermin is like a slight upgrade over what they have right now. It's nothing crazy. And then you're giving away pitchers.
But where was the concrete upgrade?
The concrete upgrade offensively? Oh, like where were they?
Catching position for them.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
If they were in the Danny Jansen conversation, you feel better about that? Probably, right?
I think I'd rather have Danny Jansen, and look what the return was for Danny Jansen. It wasn't 2 pitchers like this.
But I think you'd rather have Danny Jansen. You know what I mean?
I would.
I think.
I'd rather have Danny Jansen.
Because Jansen is a rental. Like, Fermin is around for a little bit now.
Yeah, and he's declining. He's slugging 339 this year. He's got a 287 xWOBA. There's no impact with the bat. I hope he turns it around with San Diego. Right, 2 years ago in 70 games, he put up a 108 WRC+. Maybe that's in there. It ain't there this year so far.
I'm not getting on Preller because they needed anything more than the bottom of the league. And they got something more than the bottom of the league.
But they didn't have to trade Kolek and Burgert. Or Burgert. I'm not even sure his name.
Burgert. Yeah, maybe they feel, I don't know, maybe they felt like they needed to do that, and Kansas City said, we need innings, you give us innings, and AJ said, okay.
Royals crushed that deal. Royals fans, you crushed that deal. You got Preller in a weird manic episode.
They killed the Falter deal, but again, you're blowing our wad on Monday.
Sorry.
Shane Bieber, 1-for-1 swap. Bieber goes to Toronto for Cal Steven. Pop-up prospect this year. Steven has been excellent as a Blue Jays minor leaguer. Now he goes to Cleveland for Bieber. The free agent story about Shane Bieber signing back as he recovered from Tommy John surgery was awesome. Like, I loved that narrative this offseason of, oh, Bieber's going back to Cleveland. He's going to be a Cleveland Guardian for as long as he wants to be. And then they immediately flip him here. It felt slimy at first glance. Obviously, I understand why they're doing it because Cleveland has much larger fish to fry right now than Shane Bieber, and retaining him, they've got some issues, man. But
to say it lightly,
it's an interesting 1-for-1 swap. I love it for both sides, to be honest, because Bieber hasn't thrown a pitch for the Guardians this year, and there's a chance that he opts out and hits the open market. But what the Blue Jays are doing now is they're banking on a guy who could start game 1 of a DS for them.
Yes. And I think that's the key here. And I think Bieber to the Blue Jays is one of my favorite fits of the deadline. The reason for that is the Blue Jays are not desperate for a starting pitcher. There's no need to rush Shane Bieber. You got Gosman, you got Brios, you got Bassett, you got Scherzer, and you got Lauer. So you're good. So even if Bieber doesn't even come back at all this year, it would suck, but you're going to then probably get him next year. So then you have Shane Bieber for a full another year. But in the minor leagues, in his rehab, his strikeout rate's at 50%. And now I know it's the minor leagues. But to see that out of the gate has got to be intriguing. Like, I'm sure the Blue Jays sent scouts to Bieber's rehab and said, we think he's going to return this year and we think he can really help us this season. So you're able to ease Bieber back. You don't need to rush him. Get him back for September, those important games. He can rattle off a few wins for you. And if he's pitching like Shane Bieber, he can throw game one of a playoff series.
Yeah.
Now, you'd probably expect it to be Gosman, but you could have the option of Shane Bieber. Yeah. And I think the Blue Jays, too, like when you're looking at their playoff rotation, when you say it's Gosman, Brios, Bassett, then maybe Lauer. Does that scare a lot of people?
No, it doesn't scare anybody.
But you know what does? Gosman in game 2 now.
Yeah.
Like Gosman against another 2 or Barrios against another 3. And Bieber can go toe-to-toe when he's right. Now, he is recovering from Tommy John surgery. We've seen pitchers come back, right?
He can go toe-to-toe when he's wrong, dude. He was sitting at 89-90 before he blew out, and this guy was still maybe the best pitcher in baseball through 2 starts.
I absolutely love him. So, again, the fit, too, is so perfect because it's not a team that needs Bieber. Yeah. Like, it's, like the Phillies needed Duran. Needed him. Need him to come in right now and just start shutting down games immediately.
The Blue Jays need the pitcher, but they didn't need a frontline pitcher, and they got a frontline pitcher.
They didn't need one, but it's that type of move that could really catapult them.
Yes.
But then on the other side, Guardians got a top 100 guy for a guy who hasn't pitched this year.
Yeah.
I think both teams did really well. So, again, Duran to the Phillies I thought was a win-win. I thought this was another win-win.
Yeah. Shane Bieber, by the way, he was sitting 89, 90 miles an hour in his 2 starts before blowing out. And in 2 starts, it was 12 scoreless with 20 punch-outs and 1 walk in 2024. So just imagine this guy at full strength, man.
Yeah, I love Shane Bieber. And I think the Blue Jays, we're going to talk about winners, on Monday's episode. They're going to be up there. I thought they did really well with what they had.
Yep. All right, we're going to get to the rest of the deals that stuck out to us on deadline day. But before that, quick break. San Diego, A.J. Preller, madman with Baltimore. He got 2 guys, Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano. If you haven't seen what Laureano's doing this year, check him out. Give him a little search. Laureano's balling right now. So they checked the corner outfield box and they checked the DH box / first base box. And they did it by giving up the rest of their farm system that they didn't give up for Mason Miller and J.P. Sears. O'Hearn and Laureano from Baltimore to San Diego. For Boston Bateman, who was a top 10 prospect in the Padres organization. Cobb Hightower, same deal. Victor Figueroa, Tyson Neighbors, Brandon Butterworth, and Tanner Smith. It's a lot of warm bodies to give up for two guys, one of which is a rental in O'Hearn but was an all-star. And the other, Laureano, you do have next year cheap. I don't know how to feel about this one. Aside from being just flat out or overwhelmed and wondering if El Paso and San Antonio and Fort Wayne and Lake Elsinore can field rosters for minor league baseball games tomorrow.
6 prospects for these 2. 6. Preller, you're insane. But here's what I will say just on the major league side, and then maybe you can provide some more color to the minor league side. Talk about addressing needs.
Yeah.
The San Diego Padres, in left field production, ranked 26th in WRC Plus at 75. The San Diego Padres this year ranked 27th from DH production with a WRC Plus of 77. Jack, 77. That's 23% below league average at a position where all you have to do is hit.
Yeah.
And what did they do? They had Ryan O'Hearn, the all-star, who's been a great hitter and can also fill in for Luis Arraez at times because it's not like Luis Arraez is that good of a defender. So you almost might put Ryan O'Hearn at first and then put Luis Arraez at your DH. But regardless, wherever they play, the lineup is a lot better. And then in
Yeah.
left field, it was a revolving door of guys who I'm sure AJ Preller wished he could have traded. Like I'm sure he was just offering the guys that he's been putting in left field just to people for free.
No, I
He's like,
mean,
I don't
like
even want your
Sheets
prospects.
can swing it. Let's
Yes.
not get it twisted. Sheets is swinging it this
I
year.
almost didn't even mean Sheets. And
Sheets has been
Sheets
playing a lot of left.
but he's also not been playing all that great since he went absolutely berserk in the beginning of the season. He's
Sure,
not been a hole, but we needed an upgrade there in left field regardless. And you get
sure.
that in Ramon Laureano, right? So you go an outfield of Laureano, Merrill, and Tatis, and then around the diamond. I mean, you're just in such a good spot. You're in such a good spot offensively. You're in such a good spot with the bullpen. And then with you, Darvish, looking the way he did in his last start with Nick Pivetta, with Dylan Cease. I mean, again, Preller's a maniac, and I can't really speak as well to the minor league return, but if we're talking about the Padres addressing needs, they absolutely did that in this deal.
The two guys that you're gonna miss are Boston Bateman and Cobb Hightower. Neighbors had, I think, reliever upside. I don't know much about the other three because there were six in total. But Bateman, my understanding is like big man, throw ball very well, and could be just a big bodied starting pitcher.
That even
Uh,
sounds like his name, Boston Bateman. Big
Boston
man,
Bateman.
throw hard. That all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know the quality. Cobb Hightower, I think a young position player that Arm was high on. But at the end of the day, they do address need here. It's just they mortgaged the whole system on Thursday. The entire system's gone again. And this is what Preller does. And you know what's going to happen? He's going to draft well. They're going to sign a couple IFA guys. They're going to have people pop up out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, he's going to turn them into more fringe all stars next year that
Good.
are on expiring deals.
Good.
So, you know what? AJ Preller, you keep doing your thing, man.
My
Uh,
question before we move on, though,
yeah.
like if you're an Orioles fan, how should you feel about this? Because I almost think that would Orioles fans have preferred instead of just getting six guys and no like upper echelon prospects? Like there are some good guys that you named, but
You've got upper echelon guys here. Like
okay,
if you look at the Orioles top prospect list, I bet Bateman is top 10 now.
okay,
Yeah, like
but
Bateman's top 10. Jerron Watts Brown might be top 10 to 15. There are some other guys that jump out. Like Cobb Hightower might be top 10 to 15 as well.
again, are you good with fringe top 10 prospects in your system for Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn? That's why I feel like
O'Hearn,
again,
yes, O'Hearn carried minimal value to me. Not minimal because he's an all-star bat, but he was also a rental that was making $8 million this
yeah.
year. So O'Hearn, the price was never going to be good. And you're talking about being maybe underwhelmed by the Geno Suarez return. Like you were going to be underwhelmed by an O'Hearn return.
It's a good is was the O'Hearn return going to be really much better than the Naylor return?
No,
I
like
think you're
not
right.
much.
Yeah.
And also, Laureano has sucked for a long time.
I got to be honest. I think Preller just screwed with my brain, and that's why I asked that question. Like, I think if it wasn't the Padres on the other end of the deal, I would have had a better breakdown.
Sure, I understand. But I'm just looking at this lineup, and they got better in a bunch of different ways. I watched Elias Diaz, Martin Maldonado, Trenton Brooks, Jose Iglesias, and Gavin Sheets get everyday ABs the two times the Marlins saw the Padres. And I've been keeping tabs. And now those guys aren't getting everyday ABs. You put two legit good players on your bench in Iglesias and Sheets. And what did we talk about? We talked about improving the bench.
Yep.
Instead of trading for good bench bats, you traded for starting bats and you moved your worst starting bats to the bench. That's kind of the way to do that. So now, to your point, you look at the catching situation. It's Fermin and one of Diaz or Maldonado. Then you go Arise slash O'Hearn at first, the other DHing. You go Cronenworth and Iglesias at second. You go Bogarts at short. You go Machado at third. And then in the outfield, you go Laureano, Merrill, Tatis, and you have Gavin Sheets as your second corner outfield guy or your third corner outfield guy. That's great now.
They might be a winner. Everyone's destroying Preller online. They might be a winner. They really might be.
Because minor leaguers just don't matter to him. Like they're not, to your point, they're not human beings.
Their ideas, their thoughts. They're
It's
just, could this thing become a better thing?
And is that a healthy way to build a team? No, it's a very unhealthy way, but it's a lot like what you do on MLB The Show. I know that, and it's a lot like what everybody does on MLB The Show, and that's probably why they love it.
those teams probably on MLB The Show win a lot of championships. And now we'll
Probably.
see, right? If the Padres get bounced in the first round, Preller's going to have a lot of questions to answer. But again, we will wait and see. But overall, I got to sleep on it. That's why I'm so glad we're doing winners and losers
Yeah.
on Monday. I got to sleep on all these deals. I got to let it hit me. I might have new opinions. So winners and losers is going to be a banger. But I'm already feeling the Padres are going to enter the winners bucket, even though nobody thinks that.
Yeah. I don't think so, but we shall see. Carlos Correa, he went back to Houston. Q, I'm coming home. Who did that one? That was Kanye and
Coming
um,
home, tell
Skylar
the
Gray
world,
was the name of the female vocalist, I think.
tell the world that I'm
I'm
coming. But the
coming
thing is
home.
that song is too soft for Correa going back to Houston. It should be the
It
Star
picks up.
Wars.
No, it
No,
picks up. There's some synthesizer in there.
this is Darth Vader putting his helmet on. This
Yeah,
is
that's
all
gas.
the way back.
And here's the thing. It was just a dump. It was a salary
I
dump. Like the
know. I was like,
full
what's going to the return be? Oh, they're just going to pay Correa most of it.
right. So
That's it.
Aaron Gleeman, who covers the Twins for the Athletic, had the whole detail here. Uh Correa was swapped for Matt Mikulski, 26-year-old high A reliever with a career 6.5 ERA. Twins are eating $30 million of the 105 that he's owned. So effectively, Correa just signed a 3-year, $70 million contract with the Houston Astros. I'm cool with that, I
I
think.
think I'd give that to him, even though this year he has not been any good. But who knows what he's going to look like with Houston? And he said he would gladly play third base when Jeremy Pena comes back. And you're probably wondering, well, what about Isak Paredes? Well, if you haven't heard, unfortunately, Isak Paredes is probably out for the year.
Yeah.
Torn hamstring. We're looking at 6 to 7 months for him. It's horrible. He was having a great year for Houston, just a really sound, solid player. So they needed to replace at third base. And what do? Here comes Carlos Correa. And you're probably wondering, well, what are they going to do next year? I'm wondering the same thing. I don't know, but we'll figure that out next year.
Paredes can play second.
Yeah, he can.
Um, Altuve, you can do the left field thing again in earnest. Like there are ways to get around
Brady's
this.
could also play first.
Yeah, but Walker. What about Christian Walker?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Because
Yeah.
Jordan's DHing.
Yeah, just I guess Christian Walker's just been kind of disappointing this year. But yeah, he should turn it on next year. It's the first year of a deal. So yeah, you're right.
It's also a just figure this shit out next year. Like you got Correa, time to make a run.
I got to be completely honest though. I was surprised it was just a straight up salary dump. Like that sucks. Like maybe my opinion of Correa is warped.
No, honestly, I think it's just where the market's at right now. I don't think this is an indictment on Carlos Correa. I just
I
think
think
like
it is.
part of it is, but I think this caliber of player is like we hit a point over the last 3, 4 years where this caliber of player might just be making too much money.
Yeah, it might just be the case. I'm also
There's
curious.
one contract per team. I think you look at it, it's like that guy's making too much money.
I am interested who made this deal because ownership has to approve the money coming over. Do you think this was Jim Crane telling Dana Brown, bring him back?
Do
We'll
it. I
pay
love
it.
him.
We'll
Yeah.
do we love him. Like we'll just do it. And Dana Brown was like, "Okay, if you'll
This
pay him, I'll
is
take it."
this is a vibes trade.
Yeah.
This is
Like
absolutely a vibes trade.
I really don't think Dana Brown called the Twins and said, "We want Carlos Correa." I think Jim Crane told Dana Brown, "Let's bring in Carlos Correa. I will pay for it because I love him." I kind of love that. I kind of love the owner just being like, "You know what? I will pay more money." But then I keep thinking to myself, like, a team that traded Kyle Tucker because they knew they weren't going to extend him and let Bregman walk, and now they're giving 70 freaking million dollars. Like, was the Bregman deal with Boston that much more? Like, I don't
Correa
get that part.
Correa brings more juice for me than
Bregman
Bregman
is
does.
Bregman is a dog, but I
He's a
get what you
dog.
mean
He's a
though.
dog. But
In
when
terms of
I
juice, juice.
Juice is like aura.
Yeah,
Like
I get what you're
he
saying.
brings a bit more to me. When I close my eyes and I think about the big bad death beam Houston Astros, I see Carlos Correa,
I know.
which is cool. But there's a big difference between 3 for 70 for nothing and 3 for 120. Like that was a ludicrous AAV for Alex Bregman. So I understand them staying away, And now, I mean, you cut the AAV in more than half there, or in half, I should say.
Yeah. No, well, you cut it.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
about.
A little
Yeah.
less than
I'm
half.
trying to do the math in my head. It's late.
Yeah. It's not late. It's 8:35 p.m.
It
It's not
feels
late.
late for me.
Yeah. Because we've been grinding a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Next deal we got to talk about Griffin Jax in a 1-for-1 swap. Jax goes from Minnesota to Tampa for Taj Bradley. This was my mind melter. This was all right. This deadline has to end now because Jax for Taj straight up makes minimal sense to me. But then I thought about it and I was like, okay, you get a young, promising starting pitcher that Minnesota feels like they can really help blossom. And Tampa's going for this shit, huh? And Jax, my immediate thing, of course, this is knee jerk reactions. Tampa's going to try making Griffin Jax a starting pitcher. That's the biggest lock that we've had to this point. Griffin Jax, after this year, has 2 more years of arbitration, his age 31 and 32 season. All I read about this offseason was San Diego wants to make Morejon a starting pitcher. Whoever signs Clay Holmes wants to make him a starting pitcher. Clay Holmes wants to be a starting pitcher. And Minnesota's going to try Griffin Jax as a starting pitcher. I think Tampa fully goes for it with Jackson Fairbanks as 8-9 closing out games, trying to get Tampa through the wild card series and bring the Fall Classic to Steinbrenner Field. And this offseason, they say, you come back, you're our 3-starter next year.
I 100% agree that Griffin Jax they're going to try as a starter. Now that hasn't been reported yet. You just said that on the YouTube live stream and I was like, "Wait a minute, he's cooking. This is exactly what's going to happen." That is
Yeah.
such a good call. Right? Because he has the stuff in order to do so. But this trade to me made absolutely no sense and it doesn't really have to do with the players getting dealt. And I know that sounds weird, but let me tell you why. Griffin Jax was clearly available. The Twins did really well here as sellers. It was an absolute fire sale. So a lot of
And
teams
they did great. Again, don't want to spoil Monday, but I felt like they did great in terms of the fire sale.
we'll
It
talk about that
was
later.
yeah, it was shades of Rick Hahn, Kenny Williams with the White Sox right before they got fired. Keep going.
Yes. Well, they got fired, so maybe not that great.
No,
You
I
know,
thought they did great. It was like a parting gift to the White Sox. Keep going.
correct. But there were so many teams looking for Griffin Jax. And if you are the Twins, aren't you in a rebuild? Don't you want to get prospects with high upside? And then you get Taj Bradley as the only piece in this deal, who of course has upside, but he's already a major league starter. You're going to put him in your rotation right now. So I didn't understand it from the Twins' perspective. If you're rebuilding, why is Taj Bradley the guy you target for one of your pieces with multiple years of control? Like the Twins did a fire sale. A lot of their guys were expiring pieces. Jax was one of the pieces that could net you a big package. They just got Tait and McAble from the Phillies for Duran. Now, Jax might not be quite what Duran is,
Yeah.
but I think the only reason he's not is because of aura, like you're saying with Correa. Because if you look at the numbers, Jax has been just as good.
Yeah.
So instead of getting Abel and Tait or a package similar to that, you just get Taj Bradley. Now, to be fair to them, Taj Bradley has 4.5 years of control and he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
But another reason why it doesn't make sense is, are you telling me Chicago Cubs? Are you telling me Detroit Tigers? Are you telling me Los Angeles Dodgers? Bunch of other teams, Texas Rangers? You couldn't have beat that? And then if the Twins say, no, none of them could beat that, we'd rather have Taj Bradley. Why? Why is that
Twins,
I just don't get it. It's not like it's unfair for either side and I don't get it for those two guys.
yeah.
But it's everything else surrounding it I don't understand.
I think the Twins are closer to frisky in 2026 than you're giving them credit for.
Are
And
we about to buy
it
in on them
feels
again?
so weird coming out of my mouth because
Are
I've
we
been
about to buy
anti-Twins
in?
for a while.
Oh no.
But I'm just telling you, they're closer to frisky than you're giving them credit for. Going into next year, they could run out of rotation of Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, Taj Bradley, Mick Abel, David Festa. And you have depth of Simeon Woods Richardson and Zebby Matthews with Bailey Ober as well. Like that is an
Great.
okay rotation. It's a
But then,
frisky rotation. The bullpen sucks now. The
I mean,
bullpen just objectively blows with Duran and Jax and Stewart gone. But
and
then
the
you look at,
lineup's not very good.
I mean, you look at this lineup, okay, and the catching situation is not awesome next year. But then at first base, like, okay, we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe
Look what
it's
you're trying to do here.
first base is tough, but I'm getting away from the point. All I'm saying is I see an infield here next year of Brooks Lee, of Royce Lewis, of Luke Keyshaw. And then I also see Alan Roden factoring into the outfield. I see Emmanuel Rodriguez in the outfield. I see Walker Jenkins in the outfield by the end of next year. I haven't even accounted for Trevor Larnach or Matt Wallner. And then they've got James Outman as well trying to bounce back. I'm just saying there's a world where they're frisky.
All right, fine. I'll run it back with them next year. Fine.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Them and the Angels were running it back. The Twins also sold Willi Castro to the Chicago Cubs. Willi Castro went, and the trade details on that one. Willi Castro to Chicago for Ryan Gallagher and Sam Armstrong. I don't know who either of those guys are, but Willi Castro is a nice get in terms of defensive versatility and offensive production for the Chicago Cubs in what was, I thought, a brutal deadline for them.
So I want to be honest about something to Twins fans right now. I think we do a pretty damn good job of knowing who the prospects are. And by we, I don't mean me. I mean Jack McClellan and I mean Aram Leighton. So if I don't know who the prospects are, it's not that big of a deal. If they don't know who the prospects are,
I'm
not
not going to
good.
throw I'm not going to
Not
throw
good.
Aram under that bus.
No,
I
I
don't
won't.
know who those
But
prospects.
I still know that you know a lot about prospects, more than 99.99%.
Sure,
Maybe Arm's a little bit above you, but what are you like
a lot of bit, a
two of
lot of bit above.
all right,
But
so he's in tier one. What are you in tier two of the world?
yeah, probably. Yeah,
So
I think Aram is top three on the planet,
I agree.
and then I'm probably outside the top 2,500 looking in. I'm probably 2740 on the list
I don't think
of.
you're giving yourself enough credit here. But regardless, not a good sign
Uh,
overall.
but looking at Ryan Gallagher's numbers, these are solid. 6th round pick of the Cubs last year. Gallagher this year, 16 starts, 84 innings at a 3.4 ERA between high and double as a 22-year-old. He's punched out 96 and walked 20. These numbers are really good.
I also think it's funny on the Cubs side that they've been trying to recreate Willi Castro in the aggregate with Vidal Brujan, with John Birdie. They've brought in like watered down versions of Willi Castro and they've tried a bunch of them. And then they finally just gave it to Matt Shaw and he really hit the ground running lately. So they're just like, screw it. We actually just need to get Willi Castro.
Yeah.
Like, we're done trying to make Willi Castro. We just have to go get Willi Castro.
It's like how I want every team in baseball to have an Edmundo Sosa adjacent player. Like if I was running a team, I'd just say, "Fuck it, give me Edmundo Sosa now." Like,
But the
that's all I
Cubs didn't
want.
even have an Edmundo Sosa.
I
They
know.
had like
I know.
Edmundo Sosa with a black eye that puffs up one so he can only see out of one of those eyes
Yeah.
at the plate and defensively. So, no more Justin Turner, no more John Birdie, no more Vidal Brujan. You got Willi Castro who can cover a lot of different positions. And I know Ian Happ has not been swinging it well lately, but Matt Shaw has. So what Willi Castro becomes is the ultimate Swiss Army knife for the Cubs. Now,
Yep.
would I have rather seen the Cubs go big on a starting pitcher? Yes. Would I have rather seen them go big on a reliever? Double yes. Did I think they needed to add Willi Castro? No. Does Willi Castro help them? Yes. Did they have to give up much? Clearly not. So, can't call it a bad move, but in a vacuum, right, this move by itself is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to have a much larger conversation about the Cubs on Monday's show.
Cool. David Bednar went to the New York Yankees. Bednar from Pittsburgh, traded by the Pirates to the Yankees for a package that was headlined by Rafael Flores. And the whole deal there, Bednar to the Yankees for Flores, Edgelin Perez, and Brian Sanchez. Bednar has an additional year of control. I saw the report from Brian Hoke that Devin Williams is still getting the ninth inning for the Yankees. You shake your head. But Bednar is an elite eighth inning option, and he has been throwing the ball exceptionally well since he started terribly over the first week of the season. Bednar's numbers look really good so far this year. They look even better if it wasn't for that first week and an option to AAA. People forget that David Bednar was optioned to AAA for like 2 weeks earlier this year,
Can I give
but
you
he
a
got
stat?
right.
Can I give you a stat? I tweeted it out. It's kind of what the kids call it an ESPN stat because there's a lot of variables to it. There are 4 relievers in Major League Baseball here, folks, who have 100 saves, 275 innings, a WAR over 6, and an ERA under 3.05
In
since 2021.
since
There are
2021.
4.
Can I guess?
Guess.
100 saves,
100 saves.
275 innings, high pitcher WAR, and low ERA.
Yep.
Josh Hader,
Josh Hader.
Bednar is one of those
Bednar.
4. Clase,
Class A.
and is it obvious?
Nah, not really. I mean,
Excel.
Raisel Iglesias. You got it.
There we go. That's fine.
That was kind of ball knower by you. Good for you.
That was ball feeler.
Yeah, that was ball feeler.
Actually, that sounded terrible coming out. That was ball knower. That was ball knower.
Okay, we gotta recalibrate. We are not cutting that. We gotta recalibrate the brain here.
Yeah,
All right. So what happened? David Bednar got traded.
I felt it. I felt the whole like vibe of what we were shooting for, and that's why the word feeler came out. But that was tough. Keep going.
That was unbelievable.
No, keep going.
So David Bednar got traded over to the Yankees. So that again, one of the better relievers traded and a year and a half of control. And what did we give up? The peanuts guy, the bartender at the bar, and the security guy who does the tickets. Respectfully, all those Yankee prospects, good luck to you. Rafael Flores has been raking. He's been a good offensive catcher.
Yeah.
Still fringe to below average defense. But this wasn't a rental. This felt like a rental package for a guy who is not a rental. And I thought Brian Cashman did a phenomenal job adding to the bullpen this deadline because Camilo Doval comes with multiple years of control. Jake Bird, multiple years of control. David Bednar, a year and a half of control. So he's not just buying the bullpen for this year. These are 3 guys that Yankee fans can call theirs. Bednar the shortest, but you have him for at least another year. And the Pirates, what did I do? What did I stupidly do, Jack, when we were doing some of our predictions? I said the Pirates could be a sneaky winner. Why? They have so many pieces that are sneaky good. David Bednar has a year and a half of control. Dennis Santana's been unbelievable. Mitch Keller has control, and he's a very intriguing arm. Bailey Falter, Andrew Heaney, IKF. They could really make a killing here. They could do what the Twins did. Nope. They didn't get really much return for any of their guys. And David Bednar, you had to get a good return. And instead, you got a big thing of peanuts. And I like peanuts. Peanuts are good. I enjoy them at the ballpark. Would I trade them for David Bednar? Every day of the fucking week.
They got a hitter with a beating heart in Rafael Flores that will probably be a net positive for them.
Maybe.
Probably. But Rafael Flores was never going to play for the New York Yankees as long as Ben Rice was employed. If Ben Rice was healthy, Wells is like actually a catcher. Yeah. Rafael Flores is like Ben Rice Jr. So why would you need Ben Rice Jr. if Ben Rice exists and you have 5 more years of Ben Rice?
And we talk about how Preller just feeds prospects. The Yankees feed catchers. They could trade catchers all day long. There was another catcher included in this
driver as their backup catcher this year.
JC Escarra. Shout out JC Escarra. Just got set down, but what can you do? You're at a catching factory. And there was another catcher included in this deal. So the Yankees, not only did they not have to give up that many prospects, they're trading from areas of strength. This was such a no-brainer. And it's not like David Bednar, has taken a big downturn and you're buying him at the low. He's done really, really well this year. He had an ERA in the mid-2s from 2021 to 2023. Bad year in 2024, right back to being fantastic. I would have David Bednar closing the 9th instead of Devin Williams.
I'd probably have Doval closing over both of them.
I'd probably have Jake Bird closing over Devin Williams. No, but I thought Cashman, I was saying on TikTok Live, so I'm like, this is not the deadline to go all in. This is a good team, not a great team. But buying with control like this, especially in the bullpen, and three arms that I really like.
Yeah.
With Bednar as the headliner, I thought he did super well. And if I'm a Pirates fan, like I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I'm not just saying Yankee bias here. Like, tell me, am I wrong? Did they get a good return here?
No, they should have gotten a better return for Bednar. Flores is a guy that should help the big league roster, if not in 2 months right now, or if not right now, then in 2 months or in a month. Um, for me, they flubbed the Bednar deal. The Falter deal is one of the worst I've seen initially in a long time.
Talk
Like
about it
that,
real quick.
I'll
Or
save
you
it
want
for
to talk
when
about Monday? Yeah.
yeah, that Falter deal was abysmal. Like absolutely abysmal. 115 innings at a 3.7, and it is sustainable. He has an unorthodox release. He gets 7 feet of extension. He's got a fastball that takes off. He's an uncomfortable at bat for left and right. And he's got 3 more years of control.
Yep.
And you got a 28-year-old reliever, and you got a first baseman that's got a 790 OPS in the lower levels right now. That was a horrible return. The Pirates were the biggest loser to me at the deadline, but again, spoiling Monday. Sorry. Two more deals that we got to talk about here. Another closer going to New York, not the Yankees. Ryan Helsley to the Mets. That happened on Wednesday. Helsley from St. Louis to the Mets for three prospects: Jesus Baez, Nate Dome, and Frank Ellisalt. Baez, an infielder; Dome and Ellisalt, right-handed pitchers. Dome and Ellisalt are very stuffy guys. Jesus Baez, a guy that really doesn't punch out and can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and he's young, 20 years old in high A. So the prospect return is solid. Mets didn't dip into their big time prospects. They didn't move a guy like Jet Williams or McLean or Tong or Sproat or Benj. Like they're totally fine there. It's a good system still. And they got a guy who I think is one of the more underappreciated relievers in recent memory. Like since COVID, COVID for me is like this weird time checkpoint for me where it's like, oh, post COVID, here's where we can look. And you said since the start of 21, you're using that post COVID world too as a reference point.
Yes.
Uh, Post COVID, I think Ryan Helsley's up there with most
Anybody.
anybody. He's
Yeah.
been nails, and you're going to see 102 in the eighth inning for the Mets. They grabbed an all-star closer and made him the eighth inning guy in front of Trumpet Boy.
And talking about Trumpet Boy, we're going from Hell's Bells to the Trumpets.
Yeah, that's
Talk
big.
about like that's why I love a closer late in deadline, because all we're getting to see is new walk-up songs in these new stadiums, and then in the playoffs I want to see Hell's Bells and Trumpets. And then Duran, I forget the exact name of his, but again, you just got to look it up. But regardless, we don't really care about walk-up songs. Well, we do, but not really. What we care about is what's on the field. And I love what the Mets have done with this bullpen, because so many different looks, which I love, right? You're talking about Bailey Falter being an uncomfortable at bat. Imagine going from Tyler Rogers, the submariner, to Ryan Helsley pulling down 102, to Edwin Diaz, low slot 100 with the slider. I mean, you're just from 7, 8, 9, you can't breathe. They're going to suffocate you in that bullpen with so many different looks. Dave Stearns was cooking here yet again. And this return feels a little light. Not crazy, not a bad deal, not like the Pirates, but almost similar to the Eugenio Suarez return, what I said. Just left a little meat on the bone. I thought they could have gotten a little bit more. And I also think that the Cardinals probably should have traded him sooner in order to really capitalize, because they were saying they were going to trade him. He was in so many rumors, and then he just wait and wait and wait. And now you wait till this deadline and you get a fine return. So if I'm a Cardinals fan, I'm a little bit disappointed. I did get three guys. You're talking about two of the pitchers. Good stuff. One of the prospects is in the Mets top 10. Now, of course, he's at the Cardinals. So it's not like you got a bad return at all. I would just wanted a little bit more if I'm John Mozeliak and company for St. Louis.
I hear you. Um, it's just tough with a rental closer.
Yeah.
Like it's a rental reliever at the end of the day.
Do you think it
And
was
this
fair?
was I thought it was fair.
Okay.
I also didn't think this was a properly established market. I have no idea what the price of a good pitcher or good player was at this market because it was just like different every time.
Everyone got traded. The whole league.
The whole league got traded, and it's hard for me to calibrate what the price of somebody is when Leo DeVries headlines the return for Mason Miller, and then Jesus Baez headlines the return for Ryan Helsley.
And the Brewers traded for Shelby Miller and Jordan Montgomery and actually didn't get anything in return. And
It
that's
was
not a joke. They just didn't get a player.
yeah, well, it was just eat
Just
J-Mont's
take them.
money, and yeah, you're
And
good.
then Correa just take them. So again, some guys are just take them dudes. Some
Dude,
guys deserve a larger package, and Ryan Helsley falls in the middle of that.
Carlos Correa being a take-em dude
Crazy.
extinguished any idea I had about players and player valuation at the trade deadline.
But overall, the Mets, different kind of style to the Yankees because the Mets
Yeah,
are really going for it. They're a true World Series contender, while the
yeah,
Yankees are more of a fringe World Series contender.
yeah.
Adding those two, especially with a rotation that if you didn't feel that you wanted to make the move for Gallen or Kelly or, any of the Marlins arms, then you're like, all right, let's just shorten the game
Hmm.
because we have a bunch of pitchers who can be elite through 5, but we don't love them going 6, 7. Great. What we're going to do is we're going to add to the bullpen, and all they need to do is give us 5 elite innings. And they have
Yeah.
plenty of pitchers to do that. So I like the way Dave Stearns operated this deadline, and I didn't think he gave up much. People are freaking out about the return for Tyler Rogers, and I think the only reason people are freaking out about it is because they've heard of those
Yeah,
prospects
there are
before.
three names that everybody's heard of.
Everyone's heard of. So they're like, whoa, for Tyler Rogers, how could you do that? When the reality is that they were 40-man crunches. And Ryan Finkelstein came on the YouTube live stream, and he was basically saying it felt like those guys were getting traded no matter what
Yeah.
because you have other players coming up the pipeline that are challenging those spots on the 40-man roster. So they basically had to go regardless. Now, if you're the Giants, you got to be really happy getting those guys.
Yeah.
But you also have to think in the back of your mind, well, why did Dave Stearns just basically want him gone?
Right.
That's something else I would be thinking about. But going back to the Helsley thing, absolute win for the Mets. And if you're a Cardinals fan, I feel fine. I don't feel good. I don't feel bad. I feel fine.
Yeah, I'm with you. Last but not least, Merrill Kelly goes to Texas. Merrill Kelly was the only Diamondback starter that got traded, so Zach Gallen stayed put. Kelly to Texas for Cole Drake, David Hageman, and Mitch Bratt. Mitch Bratt is probably a name that you are familiar with because he was like the 19-year-old kid that Team Canada ran out there against Team USA in last World Baseball Classic and just got murdered. So Mitch Bratt actually turned out to be a pretty decent lower level minor league arm to this point. Cole Drake has some really good stuff, and Drake is a good arm in return. But I love this for Texas. Going to grab a Merrill Kelly. Kelly fits the mold of what the Rangers like to do. And I love this front three of DeGrom, Eovaldi, and Kelly pushing into the postseason, or at least a push.
And I want to talk about the Ranger side. Obviously, I want to focus on that side. But just to quickly recap the Diamondback side, this is a good rental return.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Like, this is a good return for Merrill Kelly.
Yeah.
But if you're the Rangers, who are you going to start game 3 of a playoff series? Was it going to be Corbin? Was it going to be Leiter? Was it going to be Rocker? Now you have a rock solid guy in Merrill Kelly.
Yeah.
Following Nathan Eovaldi, following Jacob deGrom. Ain't nobody want to see Texas in the playoffs right now.
No.
You do not want to see those front 3.
No.
And I know Rangers fans are upset because they're like, why didn't we get a bat? Their pitching has been great all year. It's the offense that has been the issue. But Aram made a really good point. I think we kind of all reiterated it was you just got to hope the internal guys can turn it on. You got to hope that Evan Carter's your guy in center. You got to hope that Jock Peterson has something left at DH. You got to hope that Adolis Garcia plays better. I mean, the guys are on the roster. There's Seager. There's Semien. Josh Young, ever since he got recalled from AAA, he's been playing much better. Like, the guys are on the team.
Yeah.
They just have to play better. And if you're Chris Young, think about it. You saw basically the same offense go win a World Series all on the offense.
Yeah.
The reason they won a World Series was not because of their pitching. Josh Spores closed it out.
Yes, Spores did close it out. Leclerc was the closer, but Spores closed it out.
Think about that. Their offense was unbelievable. Who's gone from that offense? It's a lot of the same guys.
Yeah.
So Chris Young is probably like, why would I go trade for a bat when all of my World Series guys are here?
Yeah.
They're here. So I totally get why Chris Young did it. Now, what I will say is I understand them being upset at that. I would have liked to see them go get a bat. I think it's maybe a mistake not to, but I understand why. So to go get Merrill Kelly, I think was a good move. I'm blanking now. It's late in the show. What else did they do with this deadline? They got another reliever, if I'm not mistaken.
Texas?
Texas, they got Merrill Kelly. Didn't they get another reliever?
Uh, let's see. Let's go to recent transactions. Yeah, Phil Maton
Phil Maton, yes.
and Danny Coulomb.
And Danny Coulomb. I mean, two additions to that bullpen plus Merrill Kelly.
Yeah.
And then you just got to hope that your offense can be the World Series offense again. And I know it's like you've been watching it all year and you're probably thinking to yourself, I mean, I've been waiting for a while. But all you need is for them to get hot at the right time.
Yeah.
And then they're dangerous.
Yeah.
So, again, are the Rangers a winner of this deadline? I don't know, but they're not a loser. They're not a loser.
No. And they made a move for Merrill Kelly.
Yeah.
That's our show. Those are 11 deals. Have a great weekend. Winners and losers on Monday.
Winners and losers on Monday. And if you did enjoy this episode, the best way to support, rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts 5 stars. And if you leave a written review, that'd be very, very kind. Again, if you enjoyed the show. And also go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. Deadline 20 for 20% off Just Baseball merch. And if you want to join the best baseball group chat in the world, you want to talk more deadline, oh, we'll be talking in there. Remember, it's just $10 a month to join, less than the price of a sandwich. Hit that link in the episode description. For Jack McWillen, I am Peter Apple. We will see you on Monday. And with that, thank you, everybody.